Hello there, welcome to Stand Up 101 for the non-comedian, How to Create Material by Humor Wins. If you are watching this video, it is because you are partaking in one of our comedy shows where we work with non-comedians to come up with material for 5 minutes of stand-up comedy in front of their peers. And this is a lot of fun. It's a great event, but a lot of people say, hey, how do I get started coming up with material? As you know, we have workshops coming up for you, but between now and then, we want you to watch this video and get a good idea of how to come up with material and a little bit more of some of the smokes and mirrors about doing stand-up comedy and writing material. So first off, the secret to comedy is surprise. That's why when you hear a joke a second time, it doesn't work as well. So remember, the trick to comedy is surprise. And one of the best ways to do surprise is through what's called misdirection. It's the easiest form of surprise. Magicians do it all the time. They make you pay attention to the left hand while manipulating with the right hand, all while at the same time still disappointing their parents. So with that said, what's the easiest way for misdirection when you're talking this level of comedy? The easiest way is what's called the rule of three. And there's many different rules of three, but the most common one, the one that's easiest to do, is serious, serious, funny. The first two things you say are serious, and then the third one is funny because that's where the surprise is. So for example, giving 110% takes hard work, dedication, and a complete disregard for how math works. Notice that the 110% also works for math. Hard work, dedication, it's the misdirection. One of the best ways to visualize misdirection is imagine that you're going down a path and then all of a sudden you take a surprise path. But guess what? The beginning of both those paths have to match. For example, if I did a joke about giving 110% takes hard work, dedication, and knowing how to salmon fish, you'd be like, what the hell? That doesn't make any sense because it doesn't match the beginning of the surprise trail. One of my favorite comedians is Sarah Silverman. In high school, I went out with my dad's best friend, and that's embarrassing. My dad having a 14-year-old best friend. And note that there's pauses that really help deliver this. I kind of sped through that quickly, but if you really did deliver this with pauses, what you're wanting to do is help them go down the path. Remember, we're trying to get them to go down this path. And then bam, we hit them with a surprise, all staying at the same beginning. For example, this better delivery would be, in high school, I went out with my dad's best friend. Pause, letting people kind of visualize that. And that's embarrassing. My dad having a 14-year-old best friend. The pauses help sell the misdirection. And we go over that a little bit more in the follow-up video where we're teaching you how to deliver your material you've come up with. And one of the tricks about making sure that you have able to lead them down the path is through breadcrumbs. Breadcrumbs help lead your audience. Have you ever heard someone tell a joke and then afterwards they say, oh man, I forgot to tell you, the dude was a doctor. That breadcrumb of being a doctor was very important. So make sure you leave the breadcrumbs leading your audience down the path. And on the opposite side of breadcrumbs is what's called brevity. Brevity is the soul of wit. If you can turn two words into one, you do it. If you can turn two sentences into one, you do it. The fewer words, the better. Brevity is the soul of wit. And brevity is not easy. As a matter of fact, I'm sure you might have heard versions of this saying. Oldest one I can find is from 1657. This is a French philosopher. If I had more time, I would have written less. That's right. It takes more time to be succinct. And that's why they say you don't ever really write a book. You just rewrite a book. You edit a book. They say you never finish really making a movie. You just stop working on it. And that's the same with your stand-up and jokes. They've heard plenty of interviews with Seinfeld and Ray Romano and those guys talk about how sometimes their best jokes took well over a year to finally finish putting it together. So, brevity and breadcrumbs. Here's one of my most common jokes I open with. I'm married with 2 kids, which means I'm very happy to be here. Notice the misdirection. Notice the pausing in there. Another one of my favorite comedians is Mitch Hedberg. This shirt is dry clean only, which means it's dirty. Notice again, very succinct, very, very short sentences, but it says everything you need to know. It has all the breadcrumbs and not too many breadcrumbs. Mitch Hedberg was a master at one-liners. He's one of my favorite comedians. If you don't know him, I highly recommend you go look at him. If you like one-liner comedians and smart, that's him. Again, so let's look at these pausing. I am married with 2 kids, which means I'm very happy to be here. So this is more in the delivery part, but we want you to get an idea of what this is up front as you're putting together material. So as you're thinking about it and whatever, you just know about these pauses because they do contribute greatly. Here's the other version. This shirt is dry clean only, which means it's dirty. So there you go. That's some brevity and breadcrumbs, also the pausing. And one of the big tricks is to put your punch word at the end of your sentence. The punch word is a surprise. So if it's in the beginning, it's not the surprise anymore. So it has to be the last word you say or second or third last word you say. The closer to the end, the better. So for example, one of my jokes is, I am married with, one of my jokes is growing up poor, we didn't know her poor because my mom was always lying to us about it. Like, I'm over here for Christmas. She tried to tell my sister that she'd give them dolls, but it's really just the empty bottles of Mrs. Butterworth. Mrs. Butterworth is a surprise. If I would have said, when I was a little kid, my mom used to give my sisters empty bottles of Mrs. Butterworth because we were poor, and she would tell them it was dolls. It doesn't work as well. Another trick, hard consonants stick in the ear better. A puh, a duh, a ka. Words that have a P, a D, a K, a T, those stick in the ears better. As a matter of fact, there's a Simpsons episode where Krusty the Clown had a big scarf around his neck, and they're like, hey, what happened to Krusty? And they said, oh, he hurt his throat by using a punchline with too many hard consonants in it. So I think the Simpsons know a trick or two about writing comedy. So when you're looking for words to choose, pick the ones with hard consonants. It works great, not just in comedy, but also in call to actions for business and marketing and what have you. Here's a prime example. Spanx. 2 hard consonants, 1 syllable. Sarah Blakely did stand up and improv, I think mostly stand up before she started her company. And when she was coming up with a name, she knew she wanted to have hard consonants because she knows this little trick. Well, look at Spanx. 2 hard consonants, 1 syllable, and $1 billion. So it works. So you're going to be doing jokes geared towards industry professionals, your peers and what have you. So when you do that, you got to play by what's called the humor rules. The humor rules are keep away from politics, stay away from religion, keep it above the belt, and don't make fun of any clients, coworkers, or competitors. You make sure that your material is, inside this box right here, and you're going to be fine. Because remember, you're not really doing stand-up comedy. You're really doing humor. You're getting on stage, you're making your peers laugh, and you don't want to get up there and do a bunch of dicks jokes or a bunch of, politician jokes or jokes about the Catholic Church. It's just going to turn everybody off, and it's not a safe space to do that. So when you're coming up with material, make sure you follow these humor rules. So we're about to get into some writing exercises, but before that, let's go ahead and review real quick, because I know you guys are getting a fire hose of information on this. Remember, brevities and breadcrumbs. The key ingredient of comedy is surprise. Misdirection is key to surprise. Rule of 3 is the easiest misdirection for business presentations as well as this type of comedy. Put the punch word at the end. Pausing helps lead your audience. Hard consonants words are best. And the humor rules, which are keep away from politics, keep away from religion, keep it above the belt. Do not make fun of any clients, coworkers, or competitors. All right, with that said, I'm going to get you in a little bit of creative writing here. When you're thinking about stuff, do yourself a favor. Write down every funny, unique thought you have while taking this journey. Have your phone, make a notes section in there under the notes or wherever you write your ideas down or whatever. You could even have an email folder specifically called funny ideas, and you email it to yourself and put it in there, and then just collect everything you can think of. A good time to write is in the morning when you first wake up, get the juices flowing. You hear somebody say something funny, write it down. Because really all we need from you is a block of clay, and then we'll turn it into a 5-minute set. You're getting professional comedy writers to help you. You're getting a professional comedy coach. We just need to know more about you and how you think and what you see and what you think is funny. So write down every funny, unique thought you have and share it with us in the workshops. Now, if you get stuck and you want to kind of really flow some energy, it's called stream of conscious writing. Stream of conscious writing means you are, just writing on paper or in your computer, whatever your thoughts are. First thought is the right thought. Just if it makes sense, you're not doing stream of conscious writing correctly. An example of it would be, oh man, I can't believe I signed up for this comedy thing. I was thinking about quitting my job anyways, and then I got that promotion. And, how come Carol didn't get a promotion? I remember when Carol's son started college and he thought he would get it. See how it just doesn't make any sense? If it doesn't make sense, if it makes sense, you're not doing it right. So what you want to do is edit once it's out, not when it's coming out. Okay, edit once it's out. Let everybody out. Let everything out, and then look at it, and then take it. Because just doing that exercise alone will help get your creative juices flowing. And then if you write a sentence or say a sentence that's really strong, just underline it, and keep going. All right. Remember, John Cleese said, "When you're being creative, nothing is wrong." So again, here's the review. But I don't think we need this in here twice, so we'll just keep moving on. Let's look at this. This is a 3-step formula that we have come up with to help you understand how to write some jokes. If you get stoked and you want to write some jokes and you say, hey, I want to take my hand at this, I want to come up with some stuff, I think it's really funny about this, I want to find the funny in it. I think that is funny, I want to find the funny in it. I have this 3-step methodology we've come up with, and it works. Trust me, it works. I've had lots of people say it does. Lots of non-comedians use this, and it works. So here's a 3-step formula. You write statements of truth, whatever your subject is, you write the statements of truth about it, and then you go make a bunch of lists associated with that word, nouns, verbs, adjectives. Thesaurus.com is very common, the website I have open when I am coming up with lists for words on a subject. And then I pick 4 or 5 of those words, typically hard consonant words, and I finish this sentence. I, emotion, subject, because blank. I hate traffic because blank. I love traffic because blank. You know, you got these emotions down here, and you finish the sentence using those words, and that's how you get going with coming up with some funny angles to it all. And we're going to do an example of this real quick. But I do want to point out to you, if you could start with hate and end it with love, that's the best practice because you want to come from a place of positive energy, especially from the stage. So in order to show you an example of this, we're going to use Steve Jobs' 2005 Stanford commencement speech, where if you haven't seen this yet, I highly recommend it. It's a great speech. And, you know, I'm going to just take some of his sentences, and we're going to do this 3-step methodology so you can see how it works. Truth be told, I never graduated from college, and this is the closest I've ever gotten to a college graduation. All right, that's one of the first things he says. What's the subject of that? College. All right, what's the statements of truth about college? College is fun, it's expensive, lifelong friends, earn more money. You know, at any point, hit pause in this video to read this stuff, but you can see here's the statements of truth. And now we're going to write a list of words associated with college. And here are those words. And the check marks mean those are the words I'm going to finish this sentence with. I hate college because student loans. I hate college because cap and gowns. You know, I'm going to get to it all. So here it is. I hate college because I don't like spending the rest of my life paying back my student loan. I don't like how I look in a cap and gown, being poor, studying, being in debt. Again, hit pause if you want to read them all. So we start off with I hate college. Now we're going to go with I love college because I like paying student loans for the rest of my life. I like how I look in a cap and gown. Now, going through these sentences, if Steve Jobs were to do this exercise, you would find these 2 jokes. Truth be told, I never graduated from college, and this is the closest I've ever gotten to a college graduation. And believe it or not, I'm still paying off my student loans. An added benefit for me is that this cap and gown helps me cover up my recent weight gain. If Steve Jobs would have done either one of those jokes or both of them, he would have gotten laughs for sure. And by the way, Steve Jobs got lots of laughs in his presentations. He used to prepare for, on average, at least 8 hours for every presentation that he did. So, you know, he was a great speaker, and a lot of people are not really associate him with that because of all the other accomplishments. Anyways, that was a sidebar. Here's the next sentence. Talks about how he got fired from Apple. How you can get fired from a company you started. What's the subject? Being fired. All right, what are some statements of truth about being fired? Hit pause, you can read these sentences. What are some words associated with being fired? Here they are. The check marks represent. We're going to finish off I hate being fired because, and then we're going to get to lost job, unemployment, benefits. I hate being fired because I don't like people that lost my job. I don't like collecting unemployment. You can see the sentences from here. Now we're going to go to I love being fired because I like telling people who lost my job. Finish reading the sentences. Imagine if he said, how can you get fired from a company you started? Does that mean I have to pay myself unemployment? I'll never live down that Christmas party. All right, so that's how you do it. 3-step methodology. It's really easy. Just put the time into it. If you want to do that, you don't have to do that. If you're just writing down your thoughts, that's all we really need. We can hopefully find a lot funny there, but if you want to kind of take them another step further and just in general in life and business presentations, this is how you can really do it. All right, now self-deprecation is the safest form of humor. Remember this, and this is why we're doing this towards the end because it all leads up to this. Making jokes about yourself is always safe. Likability formula I came up with is confidence plus humility equals likability. You want to be likable? You need to be confident and humble. And one of the best ways to do that is to tell self-deprecating jokes. Inc. magazine said self-deprecating humor makes leaders appear more likable, trusted, and caring. Forbes magazine said self-deprecation is disarming and makes others feel included. So, what is the formula for self-deprecation, you say? Well, it's very simple. It's just like the 3-step methodology, but we're going to do one step to come up with a subject. The way you come up with that subject is you write obvious and non-obvious characteristics about yourself. So, for example, here I am. All right, that's me. I have gray hair. I'm getting so much gray hair that people will soon think I'm Anderson Cooper's older brother. A non-obvious, I'm apathetic. My apathy sometimes causes me problems, but I don't really care. So that's it. What you do is you write your non-obvious and your obvious, then you pick one of those traits which is your subject, and then you just start it from here. Statements of truth, lists, I, emotion, subject, because. So with that said, let's talk about how I got there. Here's my characteristics. Sorry about that. I have gray hair, I'm average height, I look like Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers. So now, here's my non-obvious. Grew up poor, married with 2 kids, I'm scared of ending up on the wrong end of the food chain. These are all just non-obvious things. Let's go to focus on gray hair. You can see on my statements of truth here on gray hair. Then we're going to write the list of it. We're going to select those words, and we're going to say, I hate gray hair because, boom, 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 boom. I love gray hair because, boom, 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 boom. And now you see what I've come up with. I know what most of you are thinking. So that's what I look like. So that's what Flea looks like from the Red Hot Chili Peppers with gray hair. I have so much gray hair, people actually think I'm Anderson Cooper's older brother. The good news is that when I go to Florida, I get to eat at the Early Bird Special. So again, self-deprecation humor, pick one trait, obvious, non-obvious, write the statements of truth, do the list, I, emotion, subject, because. Okay, I know that's a fire hose of information. If you have any questions, you can talk to your comedy coach about it, or please feel free to reach out to me, Marshall@humorwins.com. Again, that's humorwins.com is where we are. And as Steve Martin said, be so good they can't ignore you. Thank you very much for being a part of this adventure. We look forward to making you very funny and getting you lots of laughs in front of your peers. Thanks a lot and good luck.